Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is TechNotes Nori. Welcome to Switch 2 launch day. It is June 5th, 2025, the day that I am uploading this, and the early morning that I am recording this. I will be doing a Switch 2 unboxing for you guys today, but with a twist. Not only do I have a Switch 2, which I so courageously waited in line for at GameStop in the middle of the night, very tired and very sweaty, as a very tired and sweaty man with other tired, sweaty men. I also have a Switch Oled that I've had lying around, unboxed almost entirely. I checked to see if it at least turned on this model, but otherwise it is entirely unboxed as well. So today we will be doing a in-depth comparison of the unboxing experience of both of these systems, something that I think will be quite unique for unboxing videos for the Switch 2. So without further ado, and before I ramble for too long and have to do another take, let's get into this unboxing. So something that stands out to me right away is they keep making these boxes for the Switch family of systems and now the Switch 2 smaller and smaller every single time. I believe these are a little bit thicker than the Switch OLED, just a tiny bit thicker, but still smaller, which, is quite deceiving because of the fact that the Switch 2 has an 8-inch LCD screen over the OLED screen on the Nintendo Switch 1 model, which is 7 inches. The original V1 Switch had around a 5 to 6 inch screen from what I remember. I don't have an LCD model of the original Nintendo Switch, so I don't have that for comparison, but I remember at least being smaller than the OLED. But again, this box is quite small, and I am impressed with Nintendo's ability to make their packaging very convenient and small, as well as this just feels weighty, very weighty compared to the Switch OLED box, which is bigger, but it feels like the weight of it is spread out a lot more in this system that was released in 2017 and later on the OLED model years later. So with that in mind, let's get right into the actual unboxing before I make any more apt comparisons and, Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the moment of truth. Seems like we have the typical sticker suspect here. Let's try not to tear the label of the box itself. That's something I try not to do when doing these unboxings. I have this one already taken out, the tape at least. Alright, here we go. So, quite a wild difference right away. We have the real estate of the original Nintendo Switch being much larger. There's a lot more cardboard to go around here, but they really made it compact on this packaging for the Nintendo Switch 2. And I already see those Joy-Cons. They look very nice. And this nice Switch OLED itself. So I'm going to take a look at the original first. So we have that OLED screen, the more wide platform stand where it's more of a U shape on the Switch 2, as we'll get to in a minute. And obviously a very impeccable system that brought Nintendo out of a very dark age where they were struggling to sell their Wii U console and were able to rebound with the Switch with clearly amazing concept of a powerful console that can play AAA games and you can take with you anywhere you like. Stand works amazingly here. So for now, let's get that out of the way. Let's get to the big guy here, the new kid on the block. We have the Switch 2, and this thing, I just picked it up. It is quite weighty. I wouldn't say heavy, but I was certainly surprised on how much heavier it is than the original Nintendo Switch. So, taking it out of the plastic wrap here. Let's place that down. So as you can see, you have the magnetic inserts for the Joy-Con 2s, which is, I feel, is a much better system than the rails on the original Nintendo Switch. These were quite wobbly and sometimes unreliable because the clips would often break and you would end up shaking it too much or maybe playing it and it would just fall out. And that was often a very frustrating thing for me. I have fixed many a Joy-Con with custom rail clips to keep my Joy-Cons from breaking any further. So with the magnetic Joy-Cons, it is a very welcome addition to the Switch 2, where we are finally able to have a secure system of magnets to keep the controllers in the system itself. And you have that very nice U-shaped kickstand. It leaves a lot more room on the back for other things. Like if you wanted to put a MagSafe ring on this and have like a MagSafe battery just attached to it while it's plugged in, that's what I plan on doing, actually, kind of similar to my phone. I have a MagSafe ring on the case here, and I'll be attaching battery banks so I don't have to have it dangling. But it doesn't have MagSafe itself, so I'll have to plug it in through the top port here. And speaking of which, we have two USB-C ports. This one is for docking mostly, and this one can be used for charging when in tabletop mode. Now, let's say we put the Joy-Cons on the Switch 2. And I must say, right away, these sticks feel incredible. I will say that outright. I will pray every day for the first year that this system is out, that these joysticks don't drift, because they are impeccable when actually in your hands. Without further ado, let me blow some of this dust off. Let's attach the magnetic Joy-Cons. Let's stand it up here. And I must say, that is extremely satisfying, that magnetic click. Let's try it again with the little release latch here. We can take it out and put it back in. And that is extremely satisfying. Not only that, my fears have been alleviated, where this is quite sturdy and doesn't move around at all when I try to jiggle it a bit. So far, I am absolutely loving the size of this system. It feels so much more ergonomic in my hands, even though they really didn't improve the ergonomics too much here. The overall system is bigger, which helps my bigger hands, but you also have the bigger sticks, bigger buttons, and the L and R buttons, which are also quite more substantial than the Switch 1. As you can see, let me get a bit of a closer look. It's a bit easier to see on the Switch 1, but the L and R buttons and ZL and ZR buttons are much bigger and much easier to press. Let me take a look at the sideways view of the Joy-Con. The SL and SR buttons are actually much more satisfying to press, and I actually feel a lot more comfortable in single Joy-Con mode with these. I think these are going to be a lot more fun and a lot more comfortable to use when playing Switch 2 games with your friends on the go. So that is the quick tour of the systems themselves. I'm going to unbox the rest of the Switch 1 and Switch 2 now with the dock, the grip, and other accessories. You have the cables. This is obviously stuff we know of already. We have the AC adapter. We have the Joy-Con grip. And we have the dock. And what I will do is that I will get the Switch 1 docked in here real quick, and I will have the other accessories, at least the notable ones. Right beside the Switch Oled. And now, the more important thing we're here for is the Switch 1. Or Switch 2, I'm sorry. Oh, seems like there's stuff in here. Download code for Mario Kart World. I will be taking care of that before I upload this video. Manual. HDMI cable. The Joy-Con straps for the Switch 2 and Joy-Con 2. We have the Switch 2 grip. We have the AC adapter. And we have the Switch 2 dock as well. And I will say this also feels much weightier and sturdy. And I like the feeling of this one overall. They definitely took their time designing this, especially with the fan in there. I'm going to put that in there as well. And now that we have all of that unboxed, we can get a more apt comparison of both systems docked. Just going to move more stuff out of the way. So we have those two fully docked. And now let's get into the grips, because they are quite different in size, obviously, with the Joy-Con 2s being larger. You also have the same magnetic divots in there for the magnetic Joy-Cons to go in, but let's see the comparison. So obviously, the Switch 2 one is larger, and I will say it is more comfortable. I don't think it's going to beat the Pro Controller by any stretch of the imagination, but it is certainly a lot easier to hold in the hands, in my opinion, than the Switch 1 grip. Yeah, it's definitely a lot easier to hold this one right here. So the Switch 2 wins on this one, and that seems kind of a no-brainer. You have the Joy-Con straps. I'm just going to do one for now. I believe this is how they go on. Oh, they go the other way. My bad. So these have some protective layer on them for mouse mode. I will say the mouse function is definitely something I'm going to have to get used to, especially with how small and thin the Joy-Cons are. It isn't exactly a computer mouse, so hopefully they come out with some type of mouse grip that allows players to use the mouse a bit easier without cramping their hands too much, because I can see myself cramping on this very easily. Let's take a look at the Switch 1 Joy-Con grip. There's definitely a bit more of a grip that is added with these Joy-Con straps. And the SL and SR buttons are also a lot easier to press. So that is something it has over the Switch 2. So the point goes to the original Switch in terms of the Joy-Con straps. Last but not least, we have the AC adapter. Probably know what a cable looks like, so I'll leave that to the side, but the brick is much smaller, but it does, again, it feels a lot heavier than the AC adapter on the Switch 1. So overall, the Switch 2 definitely has more heft to it, not only in terms of it being the next Nintendo Switch and having a more powerful processor, but also in terms of the packaging and the overall system's feel itself. It is what I'd describe as much heftier than the Switch 1 overall. I'd like to thank you all for watching this video today. It has been quite fun taking apart both boxes and showing you the differences of the Switch 1 and Switch 2. And with that said, I'm going to set this bad boy up, and I am going to be playing Mario Kart World like a madman for the next few hours. I will see you guys on my live streams, in other videos, and in the future. Make sure to like this video, share it with a friend, comment on this video, and subscribe. I hope you guys tolerate the ASMR voice. My parents are asleep. That's why I decided to make this more of a quiet and more subdued video. But I am happy to make it nonetheless. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you again next time.